Do you want to create the very best version of yourself? Do you really want to be the absolute most amazing version of you? Well, the only way that you can do it is to intentionally evolve into that person. You must guide your evolution. You must design your evolution and intentionally evolve into the better version of yourself. And I've applied this in many aspects of my life, but most importantly in the world of venture and finance. And boy, I can tell you what, I evolved to a place and into a person that I never saw coming in a million years. And stick around at the end of this episode. I'm going to tell you exactly who I evolved into. Because, like, look, when you think about becoming a better version of yourself in anything, you don't just get there. It isn't just some sort of, hey, I want to be better in creating businesses and better at understanding finance, and all I got to do is take a class. It just doesn't work like that. There's this process that you go through when you evolve, and it always starts with having an idea of where you want to go, and then going through the experience, and then gathering the insights, and then making the changes, and then making the adjustments, right? But if you really want to accelerate rapidly evolving, you've just got to commit on a higher level of deciding what exactly you want to evolve into, and you've got to guide your evolution with intention. And for me, when I set off on the journey of really wanting to create the Dyrdek machine and create a venture studio, I just simply knew nothing about it. I had just gone through trying to raise money for Street League and went through the 360 deal that made me realize, like, man, I don't know anything about raising capital or building businesses or selling businesses, but I know I want to do it. And so I had to put in all the effort to understand what I needed to learn in order to be able to do it. I set the intention for my evolution. I decided I wanted to build a business that built and sold businesses, and I wanted to build and sell 30 to 50 businesses and sell them for $50 to $150 million and have $1 billion in liquidity. I created that much depth in my intention, but what I needed to learn and grow and evolve into was the process and the knowledge and the understanding of what it takes to actually build a profitable, sustainable, acquirable business. Because in the beginning, I just didn't understand it. But the moment I set that intention and began to realize, like, hey, you don't know enough about business holistically to get really good at this and grow the skill set of being able to actually build and sell companies on a consistent basis. I was still just like, hey, put the right people together and the right idea, the right timing, you got a media platform and this and that, things just work out. You're just going to ideas always win, bring in the right people, that sounds like everything you've ever heard, but it's just not the reality of how it works. Like, you have got to understand where you're going, what you need to learn, the people that you need to put around you to actually achieve it in order to begin to guide your understanding and growth towards achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve in life. And in my case, I wanted to get really, really good at building businesses that were acquirable. And so I had to learn so much. And I think in the beginning, I really realized, like, look, I just don't understand the financial side of business whatsoever. I was always led with like brand and idea and marketing over everything. Always. And I would just be blind as a bat to a business model. When I would look at financial models, I would sit in meetings, financial meetings, and look at financial models and review them and talk intelligently about them, having no idea what I was looking at. No idea. When I think about all the meetings that I had with finance people, talking this and that and oh, for sure. Yeah. Margin. What's that margin? What do we do? I don't know. I just sat and looked at them and act like I understood what it meant. I was looking at literally a foreign language where I did not understand one aspect of it. Yet I was still looking at business models for companies I was creating. So I knew like, hey, in order for you to really get good at creating business, you're going to have to learn about all things financial. And it was very difficult in the beginning. It was very difficult and it was foreign, but I knew fundamentally that is what I had to grow into and evolve into in order to get really, really good at building and selling businesses. I needed to understand the financial side. And it's like any type of evolution, it's this continuous process. So my intention was pure. I knew I had to learn it. And then I set off on taking the action to begin to build business models with a CFO consultant and start helping me learn all the aspects and what are we looking at and what's important and what is contribution margin and net profit, like what is EBITDA, like how does all of that inform the strategy of the business? I had to go through this process and begin to learn, then begin to understand it. Then it became easier and clearer to me. Then by the time I launched my first venture business through the Dyrdek machine, the first true startup, I was now looking at it through a much more clear lens of, hey, great idea, great founder, but now a great potential business model and a business that clearly is creating value and now can be acquired. Where before I would just be like, hey, let me just give it all I got and let me get there. Let's just get there. We'll just keep pushing it and it'll be successful. And it was super frustrating when I would like just build ideas and think they were amazing and then they would never work. And it was, in hindsight, because the way the financial structure of the company was, it was nearly impossible because I didn't understand the importance of taking the brand, the product, and ultimately the financial structure of it in order to create it and create a successful business. And I think, in that era, it was very exciting. It went from hating to look at financial models, being confused to them, to just having this aha moment of like, wow, like this is so important. And now it makes sense. And now it's so much better for me to create the strategy for the concept and how to market it and how to build it and what it is into creating a very healthy, financially stable, profitable concept that's creating value that can be acquired. It was a great unlock for me through the process, but it was the first step in my evolution towards really driving from a place of not understanding how to create value and build and sell a business to completely being able to look at somebody's business and intuitively ask them a handful of questions and know if there's an opportunity there. That is the depth of evolution that I went through. And again, the beauty of evolution is it's much stickier. It's much stickier than learning because it's like you decide what you need to do, then you go out and do it, then you experience it, then you change and evolve, then you go out and do it again, experience it, change and evolve. It's the depth of understanding and knowledge that's getting embedded in you from evolution rather than just trying to learn something like you would in school, right? You're evolving this depth of understanding that you get to carry with you forever, and it's expanding you in your ability towards what it is you're trying to get really good at. And in my case, it was building and selling businesses. Now I launched all these companies and launched them with these much more definitive financial strategies of creating revenue and ultimately value and trade value and who would buy them and why they would buy them. And I launched all these companies. And then what happened? Well, reality happened where some worked, some didn't. Some needed more capital. Some I underestimated how much money it would need and now needed to raise way more capital. Some worked, some didn't. So what was happening was I learned to create these pathways and strategies for these strong financial models, but then I went out and did it for real And I learned and experienced all of these variabilities I never even knew existed in the process of venture capital. And that's when I evolved to another level. And in that level, I evolved to what I call the unified theory, where now instead of just approaching, you know, each financial model from simply what is going to be the best possible outcome of this business and its success and who will buy it. It's now the process of like, okay, what are the capital stages? What is the dilution? What type of equity needs to be given up to employees and incentivize different people and involved in the process of creating it? What is the best case scenario in valuations? What is the worst case scenario in valuations? Which ultimately leads to the total capital needs against that financial model, looking at the total dilution with the total value created, so I don't get stuck in just building an amazing financial model and then being sad when it doesn't work after year one. But learning and knowing that, no, actually part of the process is understanding how all of the value is being created and what milestones you actually need to hit in this financial model and the impact that will have on the type of money you may need to raise and ultimately the dilution that may occur to me. Again, a very technical run you over business speak right there, but I'm just trying to give you the depth of the process of how I was evolving by setting an intention the very beginning of like, what do I need to create and what do I need to evolve into in order to get really good at building businesses, and it went from I got to learn financial because I got brand and marketing really figured out. But even in that process of understanding, like, and learning about the capital stages, I really realized, like, no, business isn't just, creating brand, marketing, and finance. It's actually, product, brand, sales, marketing, ops, finance, and leadership. I went from looking at it as brand and business to these 7 core capabilities and then staging out capital and understanding the milestones and the impact that that'll cause on both the value of the company and ultimately our ownership. Because I started with the idea of, hey, I'm going to sell 30 to 50 companies and own, 20 to 50% of them and sell them for 50 million to 150 million, make $1 billion in liquidity. Well, that's great unless you start out, you build a company, you own 35% of it, and then you don't hit your numbers. You got to raise more capital. You got to bring on a better CEO, and next thing you know, your 30% is like worth 12%. And then you're not even creating value. The company's not even growing. It has to raise more money. Now it's down to 8%. And you thought the company was going to be sold for $75 million. And 4 years in, it's worth $8 million, right? Like, these are the complexities of things that you cannot read in a book and never will fully understand until you go out and experience it. Now, what did it give me? It just gave me the knowledge and depth of understanding of how to look at business in a much deeper level and evolved me to a higher place. And again, you go all the way back to 2016 when I set the intention of how and what I needed to evolve into, what I needed to learn and what I needed to get good at to be able to be in a place of building and selling companies, And, for me, when I think about it today, I'm a much, much different person today. I'm a completely different person. And I'm going to tell you what I actually evolved into is the person I never thought I'd become. Because today I am the guy who, doesn't matter how good the idea is, doesn't matter how amazing the product is, doesn't matter even who the founder is. Give me the financial model. Give me the financial model. I I used to be annoyed at the guy who was like, just wanted to understand the financial model and let me see the model. Like when I'm out here pitching vision, when I'm trying to sell the dream of Street League and the guy's like, can you show me the financial model? It's like, why? I just sold you the vision. It's going to be so big, right? And I'm now the guy that's like, look, I get all that. I see the validation, the idea. Let me see that model. I'm that guy. I became that guy. And for me, I can look at your financial model in an instant and can tell if you and talk to you about this model through the lens of your vision and your idea and know if you have any idea on how the actual financial side of your business works. And it's the deepest and brightest and just glaring red flag when I ask you a handful of questions about the way your business is structured and the model you presented and you don't understand it. Because if you don't understand that, I know you don't understand how to actually holistically build a successful, profitable, sustainable, acquirable business. That is the man that I became. And at this point, I have evolved to such a place as I don't even necessarily need to get that deep in a conversation about a potential idea that I'd be interested in doing with an entrepreneur. At this stage, from doing so many different companies and evolving to such a place of understanding business on such a much more holistic level, I can have a 5-minute conversation and ask a handful of different questions about the product itself, the cost structure, how you plan to sell it, who are you selling it to, and ultimately, how do you see scaling it? Man, I could talk to someone for 5 minutes and know what type of financial model they would present to me, how they understand their business, and what the potential of that idea is. And that is pure evolution. In intentional evolution that happened over a 7-year period. And now looking at business, it is this much more intuitive, much easier, much faster, much more depth than I ever could have imagined when I set that intention initially in 2016. So I say to one and all, the more clear and definitive that you can be about what you want to learn and what you want to evolve into in any aspect of your life, you must be highly, highly intentional about defining it and then guide that evolution towards a higher level, more effortless level, and ultimately your personal mastery in that is really what you're trying to hunt down. Because that's what it's about. You just want to be the best of you on an ongoing basis for as much as you can. All right, look, I hope that makes sense to everybody, and I hope you'll begin to look at it like that and look at the different aspects of your life because, like I always say, you got to look out into the future and decide what it's going to be. You got to create a plan to get there, and ultimately, you got to be the one that realizes the vision. Till next time, see it, believe it, do it.